Many of us must constantly navigate unseen tripwires in the quiet places of our thoughts, where memories and emotions converge. The dramatic flashbacks you see in movies are not like this. They are very intimate, subtly expressed, and frequently silent. The world is seen through a different lens for people who have experienced trauma, one that has been molded by events that others can find difficult to understand. This has nothing to do with fragility or brokenness. It's about having a history and a story ingrained in your nervous system that alters your response to the outside environment. We will discuss more than just triggers today. We will give them a voice, a name, and a place where they may be heard. This is for you if you've ever had the feeling that your responses don't match those of those around you. Stay with me as we examine 10 emotional triggers that only those who have experienced trauma can really comprehend. Only trauma survivors may relate to these 10 emotional triggers. First, the loud noise that suddenly became more than a sound. A car backfiring is usually a brief surprise to most people. It is annoying when a door slams. A party balloon popping is a brief shock. However, these abrupt, harsh noises are more than simply sounds to someone who has experienced trauma in the past. They are warning signs that shout danger. It's not a straightforward startle reflex. The fight or flight response is activated across the entire body. The ribs are pounded by the heart. The throat tightens each breath. Additionally, a chilly sweat can appear suddenly. This is due to the fact that trauma can hardwire the brain to link sudden loud stimuli to violent or frightening episodes. The body doesn't wait for the mind to judge the issue rationally. It just responds to defend itself against an impending danger. It is an echo of a former experience in the body, an instinctive recollection that avoids conscious awareness. The planet turns into a potentially explosive landscape. Additionally, navigating it requires hypervigilance, which is completely draining. It's the unseen burden of always being on watch in a world that appears to be tranquil to others. The crushing shame of saying no comes in at number 2. Establishing limits is an essential and healthy aspect of life. However, the act of just saying no can cause a tidal wave of terror and shame for many trauma survivors. This frequently results from prior encounters in which their boundaries were consistently crossed, when refusing was either disregarded or greeted with reprimands, hostility, or desertion. You can learn from trauma that other people's needs come before your own, that maintaining the happiness of others is essential to your survival. Therefore, a deep-seated fear of rejection or reprisal may be triggered when a survivor attempts to set boundaries. The guilt is a conditioned reaction rather than a logical one. It's the voice of the past accusing you of being ungrateful, difficult, or self-centered for merely defending your own welfare. It's a huge challenge to learn how to say no without experiencing this emotional reaction. It is the reclamation of the voiceless self. The echoes of a history that aim to silence them are being challenged by this quiet movement. 3. The inexplicable distaste for particular tastes or smells. More than any other sense, our sense of smell is strongly connected to memory. An apparently innocuous perfume, a brand's cologne, the smell of stale cigarettes, or even a particular cuisine might serve as a direct conduit to a horrific experience for a trauma sufferer. This is a sensory flashback rather than a cognitive memory. What the mind tries to forget, the body recalls. All of a sudden, they are no longer in the present. They are returned to a state of powerlessness and terror. Tastes can do the same thing. Without any current rational explanation, a certain food or beverage may cause a visceral sensation of disgust or dread. Because they are frequently unanticipated and challenging to identify, these sensory triggers are especially pernicious. The survivor may simply experience a sudden surge of sickness or panic without knowing why right away. It serves as a reminder that the past can infiltrate the present through even the smallest of openings, and adds another level to the invisible fight. 4. The uncomfortable presence of uninvited accolades or praise. Receiving a compliment should be a pleasant experience, right? However, compliments might feel like a trap to someone who has experienced trauma, particularly at the hands of someone who used praise as a manipulative weapon. The brain of the victim may form a strong link between positive reinforcement and further harm if their abuser lavished them with love and praise either before or after an act of cruelty. One of the main elements of trauma bonding is this. Therefore, when someone sincerely compliments them, it may cause skepticism and fear. "What do you want from me?" they may ask. Or perhaps this is simply the quiet before the storm. Like the erratic tendencies of their past, they could experience tremendous pressure to live up to the praise out of concern that any failure will result in the loss of affection. This has nothing to do with low self-esteem. It is a survival strategy that is learned. By recognizing the possibility of danger even in acts of generosity, the mind tries to shield itself from future harm. 5. The severe fear of being abandoned in relationships that seem to be stable. Even in the most stable and affectionate relationships, the fear of abandonment can be a persistent companion for a trauma survivor, particularly one who has been neglected or betrayed by a caregiver or a loved one. They may interpret a minor argument, a postponed text message, or a change in their partner's attitude as an indication that rejection is imminent. This has nothing to do with the state of the relationship right now. They firmly believe that they are not deserving of love, and that everyone they love will abandon them at some point. This frequently stems from what is referred to as attachment trauma. Instability and loss are central to the survivor's internal working model of relationships. In an unconscious effort to test the connection and validate their own deep-seated fear of being abandoned, they could act out in protest by creating arguments or becoming needy. Or in order to prevent the hurt of being abandoned, they may aggressively push others away. Because they learned in the past that love is ephemeral and conditional, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. 6. The feeling of unconsented touching, even in non-dangerous circumstances. A friend's casual touch, a coworker's pat on the back, or simply a crowded area where bodies rub against one another can be quite upsetting for people who have suffered from physical or sexual trauma. They don't merely have a penchant for personal space, it's a stronghold. Even with the best of intentions, an unexpected contact might feel like a breach of their defenses and a violation. The body's natural response may be a flinch, an adrenaline rush, or a sense of immobility. The reason for this is that the body retains the trauma's memories. The nervous system is ready to respond to any perceived threat to their bodily autonomy, and the skin retains a memory of the unwanted touch. They are constantly negotiating with the actual world around them, frequently in silence. A society in which merely making physical touch with another person can seem dangerous. They're not acting too sensitively. All their body is doing is recalling a period of time when touching was unsafe. 7. The choice paralysis, when numerous choices are available. Anybody can find it difficult to make decisions, but trauma survivors may find it paralyzing. A person's sense of self and confidence in their own judgment can be taken away by trauma. Making a decision can be difficult if their previous decisions had unfavorable effects, or if they were never allowed to make their own decisions. They could suffer from a dread of making a poor judgment, because they think that every choice they make could have terrible consequences. This can show up in decisions on larger aspects of life, such as what to wear or what to eat for dinner. A constant stream of self-doubt and second-guessing can constitute the internal monologue. Being indecisive is not the point here. It has to do with a deep-seated fear of the consequences of what they might do, a phobia that has been acquired via traumatic events. They are doing more than a simple pros and cons analysis. They are traversing a terrain of alleged dangers. 8. The weariness of constantly feeling good. A lot of trauma survivors learn to master camouflage. They learn to pretend to be normal in front of the outside world, to smile when they're actually breaking down, and to say things like, "I'm fine," when they're not. This is a survival strategy that was acquired in settings where displaying vulnerability was frowned upon. They might have been taught that showing emotion was a sign of weakness or a burden to other people. As a result, they keep their suffering hidden and act as though nothing is wrong. However, this continuous performance is quite taxing. Maintaining a meticulously crafted mask while suppressing genuine feelings requires a significant amount of work. It's not just mental fatigue, it's tangible. It's a deep-seated fatigue that results from leading two lives. The world witnesses a strong, capable individual. However, they frequently struggle to keep it together behind the scenes. It's not that they're lying. This is the only method they know how to protect themselves. The 9th is the sense of being a fake version of oneself. People frequently suffer from imposter syndrome. However, it can take on a far more profound and omnipresent aspect for trauma survivors. A person's sense of self can be drastically changed by trauma, making them feel cut off from their own life and achievements. They may feel as though they are watching a movie about someone else's life when they look at their work, relationships, or accomplishments. The belief that they don't deserve their success or happiness, that they will be discovered at any time, and that everything will be taken away is a recurring one. This frequently occurs as a result of the trauma, forming an internalized narrative that they are defective or undeserving. They might not be able to enjoy their current reality and really experience their own lives, feeling as though they are simply waiting for the other shoe to drop. This is not a sign of insecurity. As a result of having their identity shattered by a traumatic background, they experience a deep sense of estrangement from themselves. The 10th is the unexpected anniversary reactions. The body remembers long after the calendar has passed. For trauma survivors, anniversary reactions are a very real and frequently perplexing phenomena. Without realizing it, individuals could feel a sudden spike in anxiety, depression, nightmares, or physical symptoms as the date of a traumatic event draws near, or even the season in which it happened. It seems as though the trauma is linked to an internal clock in their body. They may experience a profound melancholy that they are unable to articulate, or a sense of impending catastrophe. They might not understand the date's importance until much later. The fact that trauma is more than simply a memory is starkly brought home by these anniversary reactions. It is an experience that the body retains. This is how the body communicates that this is what transpired. It is not an indication of weakness or inability to move past it. It demonstrates how their experiences have had a lasting effect. Please know that your feelings are legitimate if any of this struck a chord with you. It's acceptable to acknowledge the remnants of your past because you have survived situations that have changed your inner world. Your recovery path is unique to you and is evidence of your extraordinary fortitude. I appreciate you giving me this room today. For other content that explores the intricacies of the human experience, please like and subscribe to the channel if this video made you feel seen or understood. If it's okay with you, please share one thing you wish people knew about trauma in the comments section below. Let's establish a supportive and understanding community. Remind yourself that you are not alone.